let's be controversial for a minute. I know why not. Star Trek Picard is a sequel to Star Trek Voyager, not Next Generation. So hear me out. Star Trek Next Generation's themes were very much cut and dry. They were more interpersonal, and they dealt with the relationships of the characters as well as the big bad guys. The ending of Star Trek Next Generation was very cut and dry. All the ends were tied up, things were set into motion, but there was nothing that needed to continue. And the ending was a very Picard-focused thing. It was very focused on the cast and the relationships. It was a softer ending. Star Trek Voyager is completely and utterly different on that level. The ending of Voyager isn't your typical science fiction ending. Nothing was cut and dry. So spoilers, by the way, spoilers, sweetie. The end of Voyager, the characters, it left a lot of holes, it left a lot of gaps, it left a lot of stuff and themes that could continue, though the character arcs were basically done. The end of Voyager ended with a future Janeway infecting a virus into the Borg Collective and destroying it. You never learnt the fallout of that. Suddenly, millions of Borg free from the Collective. The only aspect of Star Trek Next Generation was the canon graphic novel and the destruction of Romulus, which has left a massive mark. That was a fly and it's annoying, but I'm keeping going. It left a mark, and obviously those themes come in. And also, the creation of alternative timeline, and there could be like a whole... pocket dimensions are an interesting and weird discussion. But other than that, there's no elements of Next Generation that really played forward, other than the links to Data and Data's daughter. The social fallout of the end of Voyager left a lot of questions. What happens? When Picard picks up, synths are basically illegal. Ex-Borg are not trusted, they're seen as commodities, the XBs. And 7 of 9 kicks ass. And 7 of 9 is a character that's gone through the most character growth off screen. Her arc was always going to be an interesting one, because what would happen? 7 of 9, who didn't grow up on Earth, spent her formative years as a Borg, has very little human. Who would she be? The 7 of 9 of Picard is almost an old drinking buddy of Picard's. 7 is a very different, more human, more interesting character who is not so much there to be your observer on the ship, but her character is now this very human person who's fighting injustice. She's part of this team that fights for the rights of ex-Borg since full stop. The fallout from Voyager is more important to Picard than actually any of the events of Next Generation. Yes, there's references. Yes, there's casting returns. Yes, some people show up here and there. But the actual story, the character arcs, those moments come from Voyager. Voyager is a darker show, and the whole backbone of Voyager was this smaller ship was basically sent into the Delta Quadrant to seek out life and new civilizations. No, to get home. Basically the whole thing. The ship ends up on the Delta Quadrant. They can't get home. They've got a long way to go. The Delta Quadrant is the home of the Borg. It's home of species that aren't as identifiable. Even if they're small cameos, moments of the Borg, and those characters come back. For example, Seven's son. The characters and those arcs that were set up, that all came to an end, but what would be the fallout? Imagine destroying, essentially wiping out a civilization in one go, disconnecting everyone from the hive mind. What would happen? What would be the fallout of that? It's interesting lineups with the Borg Queen. It's the Queen Protocol and all of this. It fleshes out a lot. And with Star Trek Discovery doing what it's doing, are we going to get a Borg origin story? Fundamentally, what would change? What would happen if you had millions of displaced people that don't really have any identity of their own, that are nothing but drones? What would happen? What would be the political fallout of that? How would they be perceived by society? Would they be a threat? Would they be welcomed with open arms? And knowing humans, no. Seven's arc and her character and everything set up at the end of Voyager has far more ripples, far more effects on the overall universe than any of the events of Next Generation. And I'm not talking about character events, I'm talking the big events. A lot of the arcs that started in Next Generation were continued in Voyager, i.e. the Borg. And it's true. Picard is a sequel because of Voyager. It's a sequel to that. It's a sequel to Star Trek Voyager, one of the darker shows within Star Trek history. And the same with DS9. That's a much darker series, but that's where it sets you up. Yes, certain key events happened in Next Generation, but the events, the social outcome, the ex-Borg, this whole mess, that everything that's happened, that's left this massive mess, is literally continuing from Voyager. All the important stuff from Voyager, the ideas and the what ifs, are being answered in Picard. Picard is a more rounded show, it's a bit more even, and actually having Jean-Luc Picard meet with Seven kind of brings you into this universe. It brings you into these characters far more. And you understand that although the shows were very separate, those three, Next Generation, Voyager and DS9, they all happen within the same universe. So that's what's going to be interesting. Seeing the outcome of the virus and the end of Voyager, seeing the mess that it's left, seeing this outcome of this whole event has left me asking more questions, and I'm looking forward to season 2. I want to know more about this. I want to know more about the synths, Data's daughter. I want to know more. I want to fill that gap. So tell me what you think in the comments below, as always, and I really hope that you guys are enjoying it, and tell me what you think of Picard so far. As always, I'll see you guys later. Bye!